Hey guys, in case you haven't watched part one of my reaction video to Mental Floss's misconceptions about cryptocurrency, I'll leave a link down below in the description where you can watch part one. If you're here for part two, well, here it is. So I hope you all enjoy. Yeah, be sure to give me a like.
Cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. We've talked a lot about Bitcoin so far, and that's only natural because it's by far the most popular cryptocurrency. But there are thousands of different coins out there, each with their own quirks and rules. Some have a limited supply, some don't. Some have more interesting capabilities like Ether, which is named after the blockchain it lives on that can be used to create NFTs. And some are just gimmicks, like the unauthorized Coinye modeled on Kanye West that was cease and desisted basically out of existence. Then you've got the less litigious Cthulhu offerings based on the public domain character from H.P. Lovecraft. The world is not ready for a season two of Lovecraft Country all about crypto bros. 10%.
Yeah, so I think I read somewhere that there's like 20,000 different crypto projects at any given time. So this is one thing that you gotta keep in mind, right? Not all cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. And but if you are gonna venture out of like the deeper into the cryptoverse, into places that are beyond Bitcoin, Ethereum, or like even the top 10 or top 100, then you are going to get into like very sketchy territory, right? So a lot of these coins that are fairly down the list, I would say anything like below top 100, it's most likely to like be a scam, and you're most likely to lose all your money. Like that's just fact, right? People don't like to hear this because people want to promote their own coins. And either you found a project that you like and you're just, definitely loyal to that coin, but chances are, um if your coin is not like a very well known coin, chances are it's going to die. That's just a fact, right? So I would say for beginners, if you're just getting into crypto, don't like venture too deep into the sketchy coins and just focus on the blue chips, they call it, the big names, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that jazz.
Percent of Bitcoin owners own 99% of Bitcoins. One highly publicized report from Bloomberg back in November 2020 stated that researchers at Flipside Crypto found that 2% of accounts control 95% of all Bitcoin. Other sources have listed those 10% and 99% figures we quoted at the top of this section. If true, those whales could manipulate prices at will with shady pump and dump schemes and absolutely control all aspects of the market. But those figures are vastly overstated, according to Raphael Schultz-Kraft, a researcher for Glassnode, which describes itself as a blockchain data and intelligence provider. According to Schultz-Kraft, the report Bloomberg referenced looked at Bitcoin addresses, which are different from an individual person's Bitcoin account. A single exchange address, for example, could hold the funds for millions of users, meaning a lot more individuals involved than you might realize. You can debate how meaningful that difference is, though. Theoretically, in an unregulated market, a large exchange could unilaterally move its users' crypto around if those users weren't holding their assets in locally stored hardware wallets. The risks of hackers getting access to an online wallet system are real, as you might have seen in stories of crypto theft. In practice, though, large exchanges like Coinbase don't really operate like a single power user in the way that Bloomberg's stat might suggest. A significant percentage of a token being held by millions of different users on Coinbase, it's not really the same thing as one person owning half of all Bitcoins. That being said, crypto whales are out there, and Bitcoin is certainly no exception. These whales buy up an inordinate amount of these cryptocurrencies and do play a big part in their value. When Schultzcraft went through the data, he found that whale activity is indeed increasing, but the figure is more like 2% of network entities control 71.5% of all Bitcoin. It's still a lot, but it's not as dire as some reports would have you believe. And for what it's worth, the concentration of ownership is not a problem unique to crypto. For comparison, it's estimated that the wealthiest 10% of Americans own 89% of all US stocks. Crypto.
Yeah, and like this is unfortunate. This is an unfortunate fact that of like, big name publications like Bloomberg and some publications like that, oftentimes they do lazy reporting. And even if they're a big publication, they can get things wrong as well, right? And that report, which I think I actually read an article about that when it first came out, it's been debunked over and over again. And basically it's highly flawed, right? If you just think about it's like I bank with RBC, for example, Royal Bank of Canada, right? If I bank with Royal Bank of Canada, and you bank with Royal Bank of Canada, then it counts all our money together as one account, and it says, "Oh, our money is all being controlled by Royal Bank of Canada." Well, maybe technically that could be true because we keep our money like at the bank and we don't have direct access to the cash unless we withdraw it. But I think it's unfair to say that that money is fully controlled by RBC, right? Because it's still like my money. It's just it's my account, but it's just kept at RBC on my behalf, right? So you got to make that distinction. And the same thing happens in crypto, where if you keep crypto on Coinbase, which I always recommend if you're not going to trade it anytime soon, if you're going to just use it for long term storage, always get a hardware wallet and self custody it so that you can fully control your own keys. But yeah, if you choose it to leave it on an exchange, then technically you still have a claim on that crypto, even if you don't own the keys, right? But yeah, to be safe, guys, just withdraw your crypto if you're not gonna trade it.
Currencies aren't backed by anything. If you're concerned that cryptocurrencies aren't backed by any assets to help them maintain their value, you may be interested to learn about stablecoins. These cryptocurrencies are usually backed by some sort of real world commodity, like
Oh, wait, hold on, hold on. So, I guess he's gonna talk about stable coins, but not Bitcoin again. So a lot of this criticism is against Bitcoin, and like Bitcoin is not backed by anything. So we just spent the biggest like chunk in the beginning of this video talking about proof of work and how Bitcoin is being powered by the world's largest computer network, who it uses, was it like 91 terawatts of energy, right? So uh, are you gonna like people simultaneously argue that Bitcoin uses 91 terawatts of energy, and also argue that's not being backed by anything? Like that, those are contradictory things, right? It's being backed by the electricity. Like the value of the electricity that you're inputting into the network is what's backing Bitcoin, because it's ensuring the security of the Bitcoin, and it's also something tangible, which is electricity, that you're giving up for Bitcoin, right? So you can't make the argument that Bitcoin is not backed by anything, simultaneously arguing that Bitcoin uses too much energy. Well, it's like, which is it, right? So yeah, that's what I have to say. And I guess he's going to talk about stable coins, which a lot of stable coins, like the non-algorithmic ones, like USDC and whatnot, are backed by currency reserves. Yeah, I guess that's a good point as well.
traditional currency or precious metals. Most notable examples are Pax Gold and Tether Gold. These are gold backed cryptos that are worth the same as 1 troy ounce of gold, according to Fortune. A troy ounce is a unit of measurement dating back to the Middle Ages when it was supposedly used in Troyes, France. 1 troy ounce equals about 31 grams or so, and when the value of gold goes up in the real world, so does the stablecoin. The interesting thing about gold backed crypto is that you can actually exchange it for actual gold. This is reminiscent of the decades the United States spent on the gold standard, where you could trade in $20.67 for an ounce of gold. FDR put the kibosh on that in 1933, and all remaining ties to the gold standard were put to bed in the 1970s. Since then, the US has operated on a fiat money system, which basically means the US dollar is backed by the assets and power of the government itself. Having a digital currency backed by a physical commodity might sound counterproductive, but asset-backed coins like this exist to cut down on the unpredictable nature of crypto. That's the theory, anyway. In May 2022, as crypto values dropped across the board, Tether, a stablecoin that's supposed to have a one-to-one value with the US dollar, dipped down to 95 cents in value. Others fared far worse. Terra USD, an algorithmic stablecoin, which means it isn't backed by any physical assets, had a similar $1 peg, but fell dramatically. As of filming this video, 1 Terra USD coin is worth about 5 cents. Terra Nickel isn't such a bad name. A dip in the crypto market proves the doubters right. In November 2021, the crypto market was valued at $3.1 trillion, and enthusiasm around the world for digital currency had never been higher. Fast forward to May 2022, and the bottom dropped out, resulting in a $2 trillion loss across the entire industry on the back of inflation woes and other assorted economic fears. It was a staggering crash, one that many cryptocurrencies likely won't ever fully recover from. So, is that it? Did the bubble that so many people were waiting to burst finally blow? Well, no one knows for sure what crypto will look like even a year down the road. All you have to do is go back to 2018 to realize that a volatile market like crypto has bounced back from crashes before. That year, Bitcoin shed 37% of its value at one point, losing $70 billion and falling below $4,000 per coin in the process. It was declared dead then, just as it was declared dead in May 2022. But if you would put money into Bitcoin when it hit rock bottom in 2018, you could have taken advantage of a historic bull market that rose from the crash's aftermath and peaked in November 2021 when Bitcoin topped out at $68,800 a share. Any one move in a coin's price, even a dramatic move that causes very real financial hardship for many people, is not necessarily a death sentence. Now,
Yeah, it's funny to think about how many people are like crypto is dead because Bitcoin crashed from 69,000 all the way down to, was it like 17,000 at the bottom of the cycle in the past. Well, I don't know if it's the bottom, but at the most recent bottom back in a month ago, I think. So I think this pattern repeats itself over and over again, right? Every time Bitcoin goes on a parabolic run, you have a bunch of crypto critics coming out of the woodwork and be like, "This is the biggest bubble I've ever seen. It's gonna crash and it's gonna go to nothing." And then it crashes, and sometimes it's a much bigger crash than the 37% I think Justin mentioned earlier. Sometimes it's Bitcoin has gone through multiple 80% plus crashes. So when it does, uh, all the critics are like, "You see, I told you I was right. Bitcoin's going to zero." But then it crashes, and then it's still like the crash price is still similar to the top of where Bitcoin was the previous cycle. And then when it goes on the next bull run, you hear talks about the bubble again. So this cycle just rinses and repeats itself every 4 years. And the reason why it's around 4 years is because it's according to the halving cycle. So remember what we said earlier about the Bitcoin block reward, right? When you mine Bitcoin, when you confirm a block of transactions, then you get a block reward. So that block reward gets cut in half every 4 years. So the new supply of Bitcoin that's being introduced into the circulating supply gets cut in half every 4 years. So that's kind of what drives this cycle because you get a supply shock every 4 years. But anyways, yeah, every 4 years, rinse and repeat, right? You hear the critics talk about it's a bubble, it's going to zero, it's a bubble, it's going to zero. Like, and meanwhile, if you look at a long term, Bitcoin just does this, right? It's like a exponential growth.
let me be 100% clear. Just as a major dip isn't a guarantee of a coin going to zero, it's also not a guarantee that past recoveries are going to repeat themselves. You might think you're
Yeah, no, that is a good point. Like, I'm not by any means guaranteeing that this pattern will continue to infinity, right? Maybe this time is different, right? So maybe what if Bitcoin does crash below, let's say 10,000 and it just stays there, and even if it doesn't go to zero, what if it never recovers? And what if it never goes back to all-time high again? I mean, I suppose that that's a possibility. I just don't think that that's a very likely possibility because it's like squeezing toothpaste back into the tube, right? So the state of the market, the state of the crypto verse is already like on the upswing. We have more and more institutional interest. We have more and more adoption. The number of crypto users is going up, despite what the critics are saying. So even in bear markets, you have more and more people getting into crypto for the first time. And until I see that trend reverse, I really don't think that crypto is just going to crash and never recover again, right? It might crash, but I think until I see some different evidence of like the trend reversing and people just like quitting crypto en masse and never looking like at crypto again. Until I see that, I think that crypto is going to recover despite recent market difficulties.
Buying low only to see prices continue to drop all the way to zero. There are no guarantees in investing, and I think a very wise rule of thumb is that you shouldn't put in anything that you can't afford to lose. And by the way, if it wasn't obvious to you already, and I pray that it was, I am not a financial advisor. In fact, I have no idea what a 401k is, and I do not know what to put in each line of a check. Whether the source you're listening to is bullish or bearish on crypto, be wary of anyone who says they know for sure what the future holds. All crypto transactions are eternally anonymous. Contrary to cliches, your crypto transactions are all somewhat publicly visible on the blockchain, which, again, is like a digital ledger. If you move your funds to a different account or buy anything with it, there's a record of it. Crypto's anonymity pertains to the digital wallets used to send, receive, and store currency. Let's use Bitcoin again as an example. To make a transaction, you would send the agreed upon crypto to a recipient's digital Bitcoin wallet through a digital address created by the wallet. The addresses themselves use a combination of numbers and letters, no names, and they detail the transaction and the remaining balance. This transaction is public, but it only shows the nonsensical addresses, not a username. That said, if anyone could link your wallet to an address through hacking or other means, they'll be able to see your transactions out in the open on the blockchain. This kind of visibility is an important tool when the government pursues crypto-related crimes. In February 2022, Ilya Lichtenstein and his wife Heather Morgan were arrested in Manhattan on conspiracy charges that they intended to launder $4.5 billion in stolen cryptocurrency. This was one of the most high-profile crypto-related arrests in the US, and in a statement, Assistant Attorney General Kenneth A. Polite Jr. of the Justice Department's Criminal Division stressed that we can follow money through the blockchain and that we will not allow cryptocurrency to be a safe haven for money laundering or a zone of lawlessness within our financial system. So, yes, it's far harder to track crypto transactions than traditional digital banking transactions, but if the right kind of information ever got out, then every move you make is open for the world to see, especially the government. NFT.
Yeah, and what I have to say, what I have to add to that is, I think Justin did a great job on this one as well. Yeah, it's a lot of non-technical people think that cryptocurrency is some untraceable dark web drug dealing money or something like that. It's really not the case. It's actually a lot more traceable than US dollar cash. So if I was a criminal, I'd rather get paid in US dollars cash than cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency transactions, or in general, cryptocurrency transactions are out in the open and they get recorded onto a public ledger. Now, I say in general because there are cryptocurrencies out there that are designed to be completely untraceable. The biggest one that I know of is Monero. So Monero is designed to actually disguise transactional info, and the ledger is not, the same as Bitcoin, where you can publicly just look at the latest transaction and like who sent money to who. Monero is completely dark and not traceable, right? But setting that aside, like that's if you really really value your privacy and you really don't want anyone to like snoop on you. But if we're talking about Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is pretty traceable, and in fact there are companies that whose whole purpose for existence is to look at Bitcoin transactions and to do what's called on-chain analytics, which they look at the blockchain itself and figure out who's sending money to who, and which transactions are maybe connected with the illegal activity, right? And I bet the FBI and the DOJ and all these like authorities and governments, like police force, they're all working with these companies to track criminals who do like money laundering and all that stuff, right? So, contrary to popular belief, I think if we all use crypto, the world would actually be a lot safer of a place, and there'd be less financial crime, because like all the transactional info is conducted out in the open. And if you try to steal crypto or try to launder it after you've stolen it, then you better try to hide it. Like you could try, but it's got to be on the ledger, right? So everyone will see you. So yeah.
NFTs are cryptocurrency. NFTs and cryptocurrency often get conflated into one confusing digital stew, but they are not interchangeable terms. The NF in NFT stands for non fungible, which is the whole reason people are drawn to them. That and endless internet hype about apes, I guess. A fungible asset can be replaced or traded for another of equal value. A $1 bill can be replaced by another $1 bill, and it still remains worth $1. It can then be split into 4 quarters or 10 dimes, etc. NFTs are digital assets, most famously images, but sometimes music, domain names, or almost anything else you can dream up, and they all have unique digital signatures, so each one holds a specific value. The easiest way to equate it to something in the real world is to look at baseball cards. If you have a mint condition 1973 Carl Yastrzemski baseball card when he had the big sideburns, you could sell it for an estimated $1,300 or so. Imagine you loaned it to a friend for a few days. They come back with 2 cards featuring players with normal size sideburns. Even if the monetary value of the 2 cards combined to be $1,300, it's not the same thing. Even a different copy of the same card might not have the same value. They're not interchangeable assets with a fixed value. Same with NFTs. A Bitcoin, on the other hand, will always be worth just as much as any other Bitcoin. In that way, it is fungible, just like Burns coins, the new crypto coin I just invented that celebrates Yaz's sideburns. Or maybe Homer's boss on The Simpsons, white paper forthcoming. Governments aren't recognizing or taxing cryptocurrency. Governments around the world are still feeling out the whole crypto thing. And that's led to a whole lot of confusion over what's legal to do with crypto and where you can do it. In some places like China, Egypt, Morocco, and Bangladesh, cryptocurrencies are banned outright. Meanwhile, in Europe, many countries are embracing them. In the Swiss city of Lugano, for example, you can now use Bitcoin and Tether to directly pay taxes and for goods and other services. It's a small experiment, but it could be a glimpse at how these currencies will be integrated by governments at a larger scale across the continent. In the United States, cryptocurrencies are legal, but are not legal tender, meaning that the government hasn't recognized it for settling debts. However, that doesn't mean the US doesn't still want in on the action. In February 2022, Colorado Governor Jared Polis announced that the state plans to be the first in the country to accept crypto payments for taxes and other fees like hunting licenses. To actually get the money, the state will have an intermediary convert the crypto to dollars. More states, like California, have proposed similar bills that would allow people to pay for DMV fees and other government-associated expenses using certain cryptocurrencies. As the states figure
Yeah, so I just want to add to that is that obviously different countries are at different stages of adopting crypto. We have countries like El Salvador who's adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, and I think the Central African Republic as well. As to whether or not something is legal tender, that's kind of out of my area of expertise, or because it involves politics, right? And like public policy and all that stuff. So I don't want to comment too much on that. But I just got to say that I think more and more countries around the world are realizing that crypto is a really big innovation. So if we just swapped all of our crypto, like all of our payment rails with crypto, even if you have to, let's say, convert Bitcoin back to dollars to settle at the end, it'll still make your payments a lot faster, right? So most people don't realize this, but when you tap your debit or credit card at, let's say, the grocery store, at the coffee shop, that transaction, although it goes through and is accepted by the merchant, it's not actually final settlement. So if you log into your bank account or your like credit card account after you tap your credit card, it'll see that it's an authorized transaction, right? So all they did was they authorized the transaction and they checked that you actually had enough credit available in your account to complete that transaction and they accepted it. But the money doesn't actually get settled, or the transaction doesn't actually finalize until a couple of business days later. By that point, you've already moved on and you don't have to care because all that stuff happens at your credit card issuer's end. But in practice, there is an actual difference. With crypto, with Bitcoin, for example, when you send a crypto transaction, it is a final settlement. So people say that Bitcoin is slow because it takes 10 minutes to actually settle a transaction. Well, no, that's actually incredibly fast, because if you did it through the traditional finance route, it takes 2 business days, and Bitcoin takes 10 minutes for final settlement, right? And that's on the base layer. If we do Lightning Network, or if we do like just layer twos, then it's going to be even faster, right? So yeah, that's what I have to say to that.
Figure out how they want to utilize crypto, Uncle Sam is sticking to his classic playbook. He's going to tax it. In the eyes of the US federal government, any gains you see from selling crypto will be treated like any other stock or property you sell. It has to be reported on your federal income tax, and you will be charged by the IRS accordingly. And if you happen to run a business that accepts Bitcoin as payment, you'd have to know how much Bitcoin was trading at on the days you were paid in it to convert it to US dollars on your tax return. In short, prepare to do a whole lot of work if you're fully embracing the crypto lifestyle. Cryptocurrency is a subject that inspires strong opinions. So I'm curious, what did we get wrong in your eyes? Or what other misconceptions about crypto are out there? And why did anyone ever think those Bored Ape NFTs were cool? I'm begging someone to explain it to me. They don't look good. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so I skipped the one about NFTs because I think he actually did a great job and he explained everything really well. So I had just nothing to add to that. So in terms of NFTs, if I had to say something about NFTs, to be honest, I'm not like the biggest like artist, and I'm not like that into art and collectibles and all that stuff. So personally, I don't really get a lot of the hype surrounding NFTs. But I mean, that is an interesting use case though for crypto, right? And or for crypto networks, and I really think that that is one area that could be expanded more on. But a lot of people do use NFTs to just gamble, and people lose a lot of money on it, and people get scammed. So that's the part where I don't like, where it actually, I think, gives crypto a bad name, right? Like every day you hear about some NFT rug pull, and somebody loses thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So that's the part where I really don't like. But I think that it could be an interesting use case. Maybe it's not like we're not there yet in terms of like uh, all of the things that could be done with all these like decentralized platforms like Ethereum or whatever, right? So yeah, that's all I have to say. All in all, I really like this video, and I think he got everything like 95% right. Right, a lot of like just small details that I thought that he could have expanded on a little bit more, or explained in a little bit more detail, or provided a little bit more context, which I did with my commentary. So hopefully you guys like that. But yeah, I thought this video was really well done, uh, and yeah, it wasn't as bad as a lot of uh, it was better than what I expected, right? As I said, a lot of other YouTube channels, when they make crypto videos and they're a non-YouTube channel, it usually is not good, but this one was very good. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. This was a really long video. I'll probably break it into 2 parts, to be honest. So yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, be sure to give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Links down below in the description, as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.